Last position, it's the safety position. And again, we got some big names here at the safety spot that I feel a lot of them could be on the move. Jevon Holland from the Miami Dolphins, not a great year this past year, but man, he's had good seasons in the NFL before. Talanoa Hufanga, he's dealt with injury, but man, he's an impactful, strong safety. Cam Bynum, Justin Reed, a key part of that safety rotation for the Chiefs and their dynasty over the last couple of years. Harrison Smith, Trayvon Merrick, Justin Simmons, Jeremy Chin, Elijah Molden, Andre Sisco, Julian Blackman. The safety spot's interesting. I think there's a lot of these guys who play the position very well and who are good football players, but even look at Justin Simmons last year, and it took forever for him to find a team. And I think that everybody was like, well, how is this guy available? How is he just kind of like floating around out there? And then, he signs with the Atlanta Falcons and creates a pretty good safety duo with him and Jesse Bates. And it just feels as though the NFL doesn't really prioritize the safety spot in where they draft these guys or in the contracts that they give them and how they prioritize them when they hit free agency. But to me, there's some good back-end players here amongst this group that have the chance to really improve some secondaries here. Who do you want to focus on amongst this group?
Look, I'm with you first and foremost that it makes really no sense at all that it's an undervalued position, because you look at what the Eagles have done and what Vic Fangio has done throughout his career. He's always had great safeties on his defense. The Chiefs are always loaded at safety. Detroit with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. I mean, there's so many teams who have really good safeties, and it leads to having a really good defense. Why wouldn't you want that, right? But, among all these players here, and they're all pretty darn good players, Jevon Holland, for the youth and the production over his first 4 seasons, stands out the most among anybody since he was drafted in 2021. 7th best safety in the NFL, 5th best coverage grade, tied with Jesse Bates at a 91.3. A guy who can play single high, who can play two high, who will come down and tackle. He gives you a little bit of everything, and I think the impact could be on a similar level to a Jesse Bates and what he's done in Atlanta. Actually, their profiles through the first few seasons aren't all that different. And I think when you're talking about a team that needs a high-impact safety, right, a cornerstone in their secondary, I think about, again, the Raiders. Why wouldn't you go at the top of the market? They went out and got a big-name Dolphin last year in Christian Wilkins. Why not do it again with Jevon Holland and really set up your secondary with Holland as the piece to build around no matter what scheme you're running? So I think, this year, again, a down year for pretty much everyone wearing a Dolphins uniform in their secondary. But I think you have to rely on a longer track record with Holland. And, again, he's still only, going to be 25 years old this coming season?
Yeah, I mean, he's young.
It's ridiculous how young he is. And when we've seen the high end from him, it was just we're only a year removed for him grading, I think, a 90 overall. So I think you have a guy who could be an elite young talent at the position. He's going to be a high-priced guy, and there's a reason. I believe he's the 3rd-ranked free agent in the PFF Top 100 right now, and for good reason. You don't often get that combination of youth and production. We saw it a couple years ago with Jesse Bates in Atlanta, and I think it's the same thing here with Holland.
I think Talanoa Hufanga is a hell of a football player, man. I know that he's gone through some injury, but the 49ers defense is different when he is out there. And for that reason, I think it's more likely than not that he does not get out of San Francisco. I think if they find a way to bring him back. If they don't, I understand that we brought this team's name up a lot here on this show, but I think he'd be perfect for the Commanders. I think he would be a difference-making player, especially if they're losing Bobby Wagner and they're sort of replacing a different linebacker presence next to Frankie Luvu. The way that Talanoa Hufanga can sort of roam that middle of the field as a robber and as a pseudo linebacker at times, coming down and helping in the box, I think he'd be excellent for Washington. And so that's one team that I think of for him. Somebody in the chat, Valentine in the chat, is saying Denver for Talanoa Hufanga. I think that they could certainly use him as well in the way that they play. I think Carolina, they're in an interesting spot. They got a lot of holes on their defense. And so, do you really want to pay a safety a good chunk of change? Do you feel like you're at that point in your team building process? But he would immediately be their highest impact, I think, secondary player, and that's with J.C. Horn, because J.C. Horn's been a little bit of up and down with his availability and how much that he has missed some time over the last couple of years. But at the very least, whether it's him or Horn, I think you've got 2 impact players in your secondary, and you can play a lot better in that area as well. They're losing Xavier Woods in free agency, so that's just a that's just a couple of players that I think make the most sense there.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you become one today.